You're now listening to the Zod and Drea podcast.
Hey, what's up, people? Welcome to the Zod and Drea podcast. We are back once again.
It has been a while, guys, right? Since we've done a video, so...
Yeah, can you believe it?
I know.
And this is on the cusp, or I should say it's about to sunset and then a sunrise for season 2, which is going to be coming out soon. So make sure you look out for it. We got some crazy commercials for it already.
Yeah, you guys have to check it out. It's going to be a completely different format, and we're so excited to show it to you guys.
Yeah, so make sure you look for that on July 3rd. The next podcast is going to wind up being after that. It's going to be July 4th, and then we're going to keep on pushing through that. You're going to see more videos, more interviews, everything.
And a road trip!
And a road trip. We're going to have a crazy road trip, so you're going to really be able to see a lot of what we're going to be doing. But for now, talk about great guests and all that. We are going to have a couple of SOS, Save Our Schools representatives here. And if you don't know what that is, well, we're going to let them really speak upon that because it's something in Arizona that's a little bit necessary.
It is mandatory to know about what's going on here.
Going on with the public school system. And these two ladies, which are Dawn, Beth, about to hit it up with us, talking about SB 1431. And
look, these ladies are innovators and they're making stuff happen. So you got to check them out.
So without further ado, I think we're going to have to get into this.
Yeah, it's about time.
So on the cusp of season 2, but coming to you at this moment, we have Dawn, Penich Thacker, and we have Beth Lewis of SOS. Here we go. Look at these ladies.
Hello. Hi.
How you guys doing?
We're great.
Good.
Thank you so much for having us on.
No problem. Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome to the Zod and Drea podcast. And I'm glad you guys came on.
Yeah, I'm starstruck.
Nah.
My first podcast. So.
Oh, look at that. Oh, man. So if you can, would you please introduce each one of you and what you do and what you're here for?
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm Beth Lewis. I'm the chair of Save Our Schools Arizona. Right now, we are working on a referendum to overturn SB 1431, the voucher bill. Some of you may have heard of Betsy DeVos. She's pretty infamous and notorious right now. And so the voucher issue has kind of come to light in all over the U.S. And we're doing our best to kick its booty right here in Arizona first.
Perfect.
I am Dawn Penich Thacker, and I am doing communications for Save Our Schools Arizona. And I teach at the college and university level, but I care about this more just as someone who wants our communities to, to thrive and be strong and not see these terrible divisions between the haves and the have-nots and those with access and those without access. And that's what this boils down to for me. So that's why I'm honored to be involved with this.
Awesome.
Well, my first question then to you ladies is, describe to us what's going on regarding vouchers in Arizona. Why should voters in Arizona really care about what's going on with vouchers?
Yeah. Well, in Arizona, we've had vouchers since 2011. And voucher is basically just a coupon, a debit card, where a family can say, okay, well, I'm not going to go to my neighborhood school. My kid is instead going to, go to this specialized academy. Here in Arizona, we've had that kind of voucher for kids with learning disabilities or different, autism, kids in foster care and stuff like that. We've had that for several years. It's really small. It's like 3,000 students. But now this past spring, the Arizona legislature here, they passed a bill, and Governor Ducey signed it into law, which takes off all the caps in terms of who can be involved in this, how much money we lose to this. And this is all going to take money out of the public school system, which I think Beth can probably tell you what the status of our public schools here in Arizona are.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask. Could you please inform the people where Arizona is on the map, considering the other 49 states?
Okay, so there's kind of two sides to the story. I'm a fifth grade teacher. I teach in Tempe. I've been all over the valley, mostly teach in poorer schools, and I love my kids. I love my job. it's awesome. We hear so much bad stuff about education, right? Oh, everything's so dismal and awful. But really, like when you go to a school, you see kids that are happy, you see incredible learning, technology, right? Like, I mean, I think the picture that's painted of public schools is like, oh, it's just a bunch of kids that don't want to be there, a bunch of teachers that are miserable. And I think, I mean, that is just the worst thing that's happened to public schools, is this like image that's been created over the last couple decades. But I mean, in reality, we're just being asked to do so much with so little, right? And that's the teachers are being asked to do so much with so little, but also the students, right? Like they don't get field trips anymore. They don't get
I couldn't imagine.
tutoring. I know, it's like we try and make it fun, but we're constantly doing like dog and pony shows to make things more and more and more fun. But we have so many mandates that we have to own up to. Like every single minute of our day is planned out by the government at this point, that it's very difficult for us to like have that fun that we used to have in school. And we're not getting the money to do it. So we're 50th in the nation in per pupil spending, right? We're the bottom of the barrel when it comes to teacher pay. So obviously we have the teacher shortage that's been in the news a ton. But I mean, I think that you can have both sides of that story still be true. Like our schools are incredible, thriving places. Like I'm bringing my kids to my school next year. Right? I believe in public schools. I think they're
Fantastic.
Incredible places, but at the same time, it's too much, right? Teachers are leaving constantly.
And I hear that teachers even over in the state have to have sometimes 2-3 jobs just to make it. I mean, considering what some of the other states have, where, you know, they are thriving. I mean, my parents were educators. So my mom was an English teacher. My dad was a principal. So obviously, you know, this, you know, pulls at the heartstrings of me when I see the teachers aren't getting paid what they should be getting paid. But, you know, the school vouchers and the way that they not just interrupt that level of, I guess, education in the public sector, you know, the public school system, but how it advances the private schools, which are already at an advantage. And if I'm not mistaken, there are more public school students than private school students, aren't there?
Oh, yeah. There's here in Arizona, 80% of kids go to public schools. Another 15% go to public charter schools. Wow. So when we're talking about taking money, this is literally the definition of taking from the many to uplift the few. Taking from 95% of Arizona kids to give a discount to 5%.
So I'm a visual person, and I'd want to give for the audience, for those that don't live in Arizona. Let's say, let's kind of imagine then September, new school year, right? What would a public school, let's say your 5th grade class in South Phoenix environment, look like once this now new legislation's in place and the money really starts to be in effect of where it's being pulled from? Describe that scene.
So I've got a good example. I'm not in the Kyrene School District, but there are some of my friends are parents in the Kyrene School District, and they went to the board meeting the week after the bill was passed. And at that board meeting, they had their numbers guy that comes in every year and does projections for the next year. He said, you know what? I had to go back after that bill was passed last Thursday, and I had to go back and completely redo your numbers. And to be perfectly honest, the way you're situated in your district with having, you know, so many more well-to-do families that are going to take advantage of this, you're going to have to close down some schools. You're going to have to freeze teacher salaries.
Damn.
Like there's no other way around it.
I mean,
That's
there's just
what we're
a lot of
looking at.
suffering going on. I mean, it's a lot of suffering, and obviously these the voucher bill isn't going to help. It's obviously not going to help. It's going to hurt. So, from your experience, from what you've heard, because I know that you guys have been fighting from day one. I mean, you've been in the galleys over in you know, down at City Hall.
I think you have your own parking spots
I mean,
at the
pretty
Capitol.
much, like cheering, you know, booing and cheering, depending on, you know, who was speaking. But could you explain how it began? I mean, I know Debbie Lesko had something to do with it, at least within the state. And look, we name drop here. So, you know,
I like it.
So, you know, and I want to know from listening to her, and if you want to explain who she is, why does she find that this is a positive thing for the students in public schools? So what is her positive versus your negative?
I like Beth's little expression.
Well, if this is a place where we can kind of like put it out there.
Trust me, you can say what you want on our podcast.
I heard someone say this the other day, and it could not be more true. This is the new white flight. And they aren't going to say it, but that's their positive. They are taking affluent, white, Christian kids out of the schools that are infested with people who don't look like them, don't believe like them, don't live like them, and that's really what this boils down to. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're maybe assigning or attributing too much thought to certain senators or representatives. I mean, I think that the incentive for them is less philosophical sometimes, and they're bought and sold.
Let's
be real.
It sounds like Washington. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, some of them are absolutely looking to spread God's word in private schools, like DeVos has said, and to privatize our schools. But a lot of them are being controlled like puppets by the powers that be, right? Like ALEC is spreading this legislation around the country. DeVos's group, American Federation for Children. Like, I know everybody's eyes glaze over as soon as you start talking about like dark money and all that, but it's real and it's powerful and it's happening. I just learned yesterday that there's another Bradley Foundation that's like trying to gut out our unions, and I mean, it's everywhere.
Like, it just doesn't stop.
Right.
Right, the tentacles are everywhere, and they have the money to do it, and they have kind of the right people in power to make sure that they're in charge of where that money goes, and it's a definite David and Goliath situation. I mean, we are like the little ants trying to kick down the giant or something, but we're trying anyway.
So how can the community help?
Volunteer, carry petitions, get the word out. It's expensive. You can always donate. SOSArizona.org. But more importantly, I think you have to get educated, and you have to talk to your neighbors. Like, you can't just listen to the people that are out there trying to say, oh, you know, we're all about school choice. No, you're not. Choice is a two-way street. Those schools that are saying that they're all about school choice are the ones that are choosing to not let in all of the kids, right?
Right.
Like, you got to listen, and you have to do your research, and you have to read between the lines and realize that, you know, school choice has consequences, that, you know, if we all banded together and we got together with our communities and said, you know what, this isn't acceptable. Like, let me work with my neighbors, with the principal, with the superintendent, and work to fix these schools instead of fleeing. Right. I'm always just I think that there's this like competition model where I just need the best for my kid. And we need to start realizing that, well, maybe we need to look out for what's best for like every kid on the street, or maybe every kid in the state. Right. Like, how are we going to be a strong state if we don't start talking to our neighbors, looking out for each other's kids?
Which is amazing to me, considering how many public school people, whether parents or, you know, teachers, that there are. This seems like this should be something that is, I mean, as soon as you hear Save Our Schools, it shouldn't be a hesitation. It's like, I worked there, I went to public school, you know, I know public school teachers. Where can I sign up? You know, this is where I think somebody should wind up jumping in. And I'm wondering if there is some sort of trepidation within the public community at large, where they just don't feel like getting involved in something like this. Do you feel that it has to do with politics, or they feel that it's political?
You know, in a weird way, I think this loops back to what Beth was saying, that our public school teachers and public schools are doing such a good job of hiding the hurt. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Oh, a good point.
That people don't realize that they're starving. They're doing such a good job of making schools seem pretty good and fine and fun, and, you know, that they don't realize that we are actually in crisis.
Right.
In terms of how much we are supporting and investing in this field and in these kids and in these people, and therefore in our state. You know, I was thinking on the drive over here, I thought, you know, school vouchers, those give a choice to one student, and they lift one student out. One voucher, one student gets lifted out of a bad situation. How about we lift entire schools out of a bad situation?
I mean, wouldn't that be something that you think would just be, I guess, common sense? You know,
Yeah.
it seems like that. I mean, so many people I know, like I said, I mean, most of us, I'm sure, have gone to a public school system. Most of us.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, it makes no sense unless you are into that private school system where then you raise up, then you get into politics, then you get to make all the rules, where then you become. But you know what? We are going to be right back because we're going to have Dawn and Beth talk about the solutions
Yes.
to this problem. All right? So we'll be right back. Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Zod.
And I'm Drea.
And we want you to check out the Zod and Drea podcast every Tuesday.
Where can everybody find us at?
You can always check us out on www.zodanddrea.com.
Where else?
You can always check us out also on Facebook at Zod and Drea.
Instagram?
Zod and Drea.
Snapchat?
Zod and Drea.
YouTube?
Zod and Drea.
I see a pattern.
I see a pattern. So if you haven't caught that, catch us at Zod and Drea on all the social networks. But also, make sure you subscribe to the Zod and Drea podcast. Where?
At zodanddrea.com.
And also on YouTube and iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. We're coming for you.
Let us know what you think. And if you want to be a guest, reach out to us.
And put all of your input into whatever our topics are for the week. So we hope to check you out and see you there.
Bye.
All right, we're back.
We're back.
So you wanted to ask Dawn and Beth a question.
My question is, have you had anybody approach you from the private schools or leadership from the private schools about supporting this what SOS is trying to do, like incognito in a way, so maybe they don't like get any type of spotlight on them? Has anybody from that sector approached you guys?
Just to answer that with a quick little story. So over the weekend, I went to a bunch of churches that had invited us to come and speak to their congregation about this issue. And a lot of these churches have a private school associated with them. They have their own school. So I was like, well, I'm going to go because I'm not turning away any opportunity to talk about this. But man, this is going to be like, what is this going to be like? They all are supporters because think about this, from their faith-based teachings, they said it is not right, it's not Christian of us to help this kid but not these kids.
Right.
And then there's the other perspective, more of like the civic perspective, that they said my choice to have religious education in my kid's life is not the taxpayer's bill. That's my choice, but it's religious education and this is America and that's not what we do. And I was moved to tears at how supportive they were. And that story has happened on small and large scales since day one. We have a lot of support.
Right.
Yeah, and we had a woman from the ESA network, so a group of parents that have used ESAs for the last couple of years for their students who have
another version of saying voucher.
Got it.
Yeah, thank you. So very pro ESAs vouchers for their kids who have special needs and need to go to like very small academies like autism focus, etc. And she reached out to us and said, well, a lot of the parents in my group are for this, but when I started telling them what it was going to do for our kids that really need this service, they freaked out, and now all of a sudden they're coming on board for us. She's writing an op-ed for us. Yeah, because they realized.
That's good.
Yeah, I've had students that I filled out ESA paperwork for who really needed to go to a special school in like a different setting than a public school, but that's for that 0.3%, right? There's a reason that exists.
This is crazy, and with that said, we want to know the solutions, okay? So this is why SOS is here, because in case you guys don't know, SOS is doing some big things in order to try to overturn SB 1431, which was already signed into law, I believe. I think Ducey already did it, but there is time to save it. And that is why they are trying to save our schools. And we've been a part of it. There are a lot of people that are a part of it. And that's why we're so happy to have Beth and Dawn here. But could you explain what the steps are that people can take to help save these public schools? Because this is important.
So first, in the next 6 weeks, we need to achieve our goal of 115,000 signatures, right? So we need everybody to pound the pavement, even though it's going to be leaking oil as of tomorrow. I read that somewhere. But
the sun's crying.
Get out your space shoes and make it happen. Just find an event that you really like going to. Go to the baseball game and just show up 45 minutes early. You don't need to have a special t-shirt or anything. Just have your clipboard. People, honestly, in my experience, people are lining up to sign. And now we have the name recognition. So they're like, oh, is that SOS thing? I want to sign that. Yeah. So it's really not as tough as it sounds. The long term is a little tougher.
So the way that you do that is by going either to our Facebook page, which is Save Our Schools Arizona, all spelled out, or to our website, which is also saveourschoolsarizona, all spelled out.org. So saveourschoolsarizona.org, and just sign up. I mean, it's a quick button: volunteer, donate. But every petition has 15 signatures, space for 15 signatures. Everybody knows 14 other people who, like you said, went to public school, support public schools, care about their community, want to see the entire community lifted up, not just that one kid or that one girl. And so that's really the first step, is just help us do this. And in doing that, those conversations happen.
Right.
And I don't think it's that people are scared of this issue or scared of the political, that kind of thing. I think they just don't know that we, the people, to have a say in something.
Yeah.
They don't know that even when a law is passed, that we can fight back, which is what we're trying to do.
And speaking of the law passing, to go backwards real quick, wasn't it true that we, the people, didn't have a say in this law? Which is why now you're beating the pavement.
How'd that happen?
In order to try to reverse it. I mean, it's really wild that you didn't have the say to do that, but in order to reverse it, this is where people have to come together.
Yeah. And I mean, you guys were there for some of this. There were citizens. I asked a longtime politics reporter here in Arizona whether he's ever seen anything like it. The public outrage, all legislative session against this bill. And he said, he's a very cutthroat guy. He said, no, I've never seen anything like it. I was like, all right. And they still didn't listen to us. But you know what? If we get these signatures, then it goes on the ballot. And then they can't not listen to us, because we will get to cast a yes or no vote.
Right.
Either yes, we love this law, we want to defund our public schools, or no, this is not who Arizona is. And then, save some kind of Putin intervention, we will have had our say.
Exactly.
Is he available?
I think they kind of shot themselves in the foot by being so dismissive and rude towards us, because they galvanized this group of fierce moms and dads and teachers who were like, wait, this is our kids.
Yeah.
This is not okay. I mean, we were down there on the floor, or not on the floor, in the gallery of the House the night that it was passed, and I'm not necessarily going to name names, but there are people that are high-fiving around the room. There's people.
We were there, I believe, right? Was there that day? Yeah, we were there.
The shamed,
we saw
right?
it, and we shamed them. And
remember, they kept coming back to the gallery and pointing up at the lobbyists, pointing up at the other.
When you think about that, they are defund. There's something sinister. I can't speak on it, as an evil, wrongdoer. I don't know what they were doing, but at that moment, it did bother me, because you look at that, because I'm standing there with you guys. I know what you're going through, and I know the hurt and the pain, because you're the ones who are teaching. You're actually teaching their kids, and they're high-fiving about taking your funding away so that you have a harder time. It's like, do you know what you're doing, who you're working for, and whoever's lining your pockets is not the good guy?
The consequences. Are you aware of what the consequences are going to be happening to the state?
Right. And sadly, I think they are. They had a gala that night that was sponsored by one of those groups like Goldwater, AFC, or whatever. They had a party to celebrate. That's how deep this goes. It's crazy.
Well, it's like, I hope we get to have a party, in 2018.
Mm-hmm. I am already buying my shoes for that party.
August 8th, when we get those signatures, that's going to be
that's the pre-party.
That's the pre-party. So it's like, that is the important thing, people. It's like, we need to get the signatures. So if you can, you got to see these two. Go over and volunteer at Save Our Schools Arizona, wherever you can find it. Now, here's what's also interesting to me, because you guys, you're right, it was galvanized so hard, so hardcore. Is this going on in other states? Is the Save Our Schools going on in other states? I mean, I know it's something you guys helped put together.
Yeah, this is all Arizona.
This is all
this
you.
problem is certainly happening in other states,
Yeah.
but as far as I know, we've been checking. Is there anything like this going on? I think like they pissed off the wrong desert dwellers.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and Arizona is like ground zero when it comes to this stuff. Texas had the sense to vote it down the week before. Texas had the sense.
Can you believe that?
Can
Put
you
that
believe
out
that?
there for perspective. Nevada got booted down in court, I think last week, right there. Well, it's been kind of back and forth, but they
still,
were
they're
ruled
fighting.
unconstitutional.
Wow, okay.
There's similar legislation like being replicated all around the country right now as we speak. So that's
Amazing.
another reason why we were just like, wait, we're not going to let this stand, right? You
yeah,
gotta
we're
fight
not
it
going to be the
now.
example that lets the floodgates open.
And I mean the professionalism on how you put this together. This is what I really, you know me. I'm very analytic when it comes to things like that. And I'm like, okay, how'd they put this together? The logo and all that. And I look at this. If you look at this, this looks like, I mean, it looks like a political campaign. It's almost as polished as a political campaign. And I mean, I have to congratulate you on how you did that. All the printing, and I know it was a lot of money. I mean, just the printing alone, they say was like, what, 20,000? I mean,
Yeah,
just the
little over
printing
that, yeah.
of the like pages, trees, and ink.
We're still paying that, just, you know.
Yeah, just, you know, which was why donations are needed.
Please.
But it's that important to them. And it's like when you look at the website and you look at the Facebook page and you look at Twitter and everywhere else, that you make sure that the word is out. And there, I mean, I saw something that was really interesting. I forgot her name, but talk about kicking ass. What did she get? I forgot her name, but
Sarah.
Sarah did 50 pages of signatures in what was it, 6 weeks or 4 weeks or something?
Well, and she's another mom
Yeah.
and teacher that was down there at the Capitol with us and saw how rude those people were and how much they don't care about our kids. And she was like, no.
Like,
I love
like
her.
15 times 50 people, you know? That sounds like a challenge.
Yes,
you know?
it
So I want you to take on that bet. You know, you have to beat her. That was amazing.
I'll buy you a beer.
You will get a
all I
beer
can
from
afford.
Dawn Lewis.
You know what? Yeah, we'll all buy you beer if that happens, but
I mean,
truly,
Beth Lewis.
just
I said
take
Dawn
one.
Lewis.
That's
I
all right.
completely, like,
I feel like
you
we
guys are
actually
twins, you
becoming
know?
one.
I'm like Warner twins.
We spent a lot of time.
You know?
No.
Beth
But you
Thacker.
know what? You don't. I mean, even 1 or 2 petitions helps. You know,
Yeah.
literally, if everyone just said, like, I'm going to walk this through my own family and my own little circle, and then just make sure they return it. That's the other thing I do want to emphasize. If anyone is, you know, watching, listening, and they're like, oh yeah, I've been doing that. I've been circulating petitions. I have some in my car. Please turn them into us, because it doesn't count unless they come home, right?
Unfortunately, I have one in my car.
I've got one at my
I
desk.
am actually going to go to the
I have
notary.
20.
We did try. You see, I tried to get it notarized, but I couldn't. So now that I know that there is going to be a notary at some of the events, and check the events because they're going to be notaries, and I mean,
And they're all over the state.
it's a well-oiled machine right
2
now.
big parties coming up next week,
2
fundraisers.
big parties, fundraisers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is what we want to see. You know, this is what we want to see. We want to see action. We want to see people loving what they're doing, and we want to see results.
When I was volunteering at the Changing Hands bookstore, so we know during one of the shifts, and someone approached me that was from New York, that had moved us down here from New York State. This person's only been a resident for 3 months. Even he realized, why would you take money away from the students and from the public schools? Didn't I just hear your governor say he's bringing in jobs? Then who's he going to hire?
yes.
It's like, yes, it's like, it's
That's
a big
awesome.
picture. Like, yes, you have to have an educated population to bring in the jobs here and keep it attractive. So, yes, education impacts everything for the economy of the state. So, for someone that's only been here for 3 months and to make that kind of observation, it's like, come on, Arizona, we're better than this.
It's, I mean, unfortunately, we got to close this out. Unfortunately, we got to close this out. That was a good segment to lead off with, but we're hoping that we're going to be able to see. Can you again tell us where you can find you?
SaveOurSchoolsArizona.org or on Facebook, Save Our Schools Arizona.
And this is, I'm not going to say Dawn Lewis again. It's Beth Lewis and Dawn Penich Thacker here from Save Our Schools. And we just really thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And for fighting the fight with us.
Yes.
We will.
So you heard them. You heard them. You know what you got to do. It's up to you now in order to get off of watching this podcast and go to Save Our Schools Arizona and do what Dawn and Beth had said. We got to just tear apart SB 1431.
And you can't use the excuse that you're not registered. If you're a resident of Arizona, there are links and resources on the website for a SOS that can get you registered. So this way you can make a difference.
And even if you're not registered, guess what? Volunteer.
Duh.
You know, it doesn't take a genius to go and get some signatures from people. So you can do that too. So your challenge is 50 signatures in 50 pages of signatures in 1 week.
And somehow you're going to get a beer.
Okay? And you're going to get a beer from Dawn. Okay? I mean, that's as much as we can give you. But until then, peace out. And thank you for checking us out.